Jason Barnard, welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, brilliant, wonderful. Thank you for having me, Julian.
Awesome. So what sort of stuff are you working on in AI and SEO right now?
I've gone totally nuts building Codify Pro, which is the platform that I built in 2015. So I started building it in 2015 to manage brand SERPs, the search engine results for people's pages, people's names, to serve our clients at Codify because we're focused on personal brands, especially entrepreneurs. Then it expanded to knowledge panels when knowledge panels became popular. And now it's expanded to the AI engines and what they reply. So what I'm calling the AI resume, when people see what the AI thinks your resume or your CV should look like. And the AI due diligence rabbit hole, which I love as a term, when people start researching it. Because with the brand SERP, it was so easy. You just say, okay, here's my Google business card. And with AI just says, oh, what about this problem? What about that question? What about that about this person? They force or encourage people down a due diligence rabbit hole. And you need to make sure that every single one of those due diligence questions is answered correctly, positively. The narrative is right for you. So I've been building out Codify Pro to extend it from brand SERPs to knowledge panels to LLMs, which I call the Algorithmic Trinity, which we can talk about as well. And obviously, AI is doing the coding, and what's great is I set Claude off on a task and I watch it and I pick up my guitar, which is sitting here, and I play the guitar. And luckily, Claude takes about 3 minutes every time, and that's a 3-minute pop song. So I play 20 or 30 3-minute pop songs every day, and I'm getting really good at the guitar.
Nice. So like Claude is helping you pick up your hobbies again.
Yeah, I used to be a professional musician and used to play the double bass, still play the double bass, and I wanted to play solo. So I've started to play the guitar. So I've learned shit tons of songs and I'll do some gigs. I'm playing on Tuesday. So I started using AI to multitask. I'd have 3 things going on at once, and then my brain got confused. And I realized it's much more fun letting Claude do the work, watching it, and playing music.
Yeah, I feel the same sometimes. It's kind of like working with Claude, whether it's SEO or whether it's just preparing something for a video, it feels really passive now. It's almost like I just click a button and then I'm waiting.
Yeah, I can't believe we ever managed to work without it. It's nuts. I'm doing slide decks, I like everybody. And I just look at it, I'm thinking, number one, how lazy am I? And number two, how did I do this without AI? Or it's more along, how did I have the patience to do this? It's making me really impatient.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. You mentioned the Trinity, the Algorithmic Trinity. Tell us a bit more about that.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things in the whole world. And I don't know if it's luck or I was just super smart or both, but every AI engine works on the Algorithmic Trinity. So it needs the LLM to have a conversation, what Google call intelligence. It needs search results for information it doesn't have, what Google call information. And the knowledge graph, machine readable encyclopedia, to fact check, what Google call validation. So LLM plus search engine plus knowledge graph makes an AI engine or an AI agent that can answer you intelligently and accurately and helpfully. And I've been giving talks for Google this year as part of their labs system. So I'm teaching, Google have hired me to teach their clients how to do SEO using the Codify process, which is my methodology. But they call it, when I said to them, the Algorithmic Trinity, and explained it, they said, we call that intelligence, information, validation.
So actually, you came up with a framework and it matches what Google had internally.
Yeah, they said, you're describing the mechanics, the technology, and we're describing how people perceive it.
And how does it work?
Well, I mean, there are multiple ways of kind of looking at it, but if you imagine a child in a classroom, an LLM will answer off the top of its head if it can. So the kid just says, okay, here's the answer. They know the answer. There's no problem. And it's knowledge they already have and that they've retained. Then sometimes the teacher will ask them something they don't know the answer to, something recent or something really niche or something they haven't studied yet. So it's not in the training data for the LLM. And they go off to the library and they look it up in the library and they get the information. That's search. And then they come back and they think, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to say something silly. I don't want to say something untrue. I'll look it up in the encyclopedia. That's the knowledge graph. So that child analogy is really good. It comes back to the child analogy I've been using since 2015. The child who just wants to understand, wants to be able to help. And I think I was doing, because I'm going to be doing the keynote for SMX next at the end of the year. And I was doing that. And as I was doing it, realizing that I need to emphasize that whereas search, we were just using it to sort through, like a library, to sort through the information, give us 10 choices. With an agent or an assistant, the agent or the assistant has a client, and that client is the person using it. And their sole aim is to give that client, their client, the best solution as efficiently as possible. And if you can convince it that you're the best solution for that specific problem and make it efficient for them, they're going to give you the deal. And I think we're going to have to get used to the idea that we're dealing with agents as the direct interface, or the direct interlocuteur, which is French, but I can't remember what it is in English, much more than we think. And with agents, of course, it's the agent that's the client. So either the agent is the client or the agent is the interface with the client. And so we have to learn to communicate with agents. And I would say communicate, deal with, treat them as clients. The agent is the entity with which you now need to communicate. And that's why I think SEOs aren't really taking advantage of it, is that's your place at the C table. With what's happening now, SEOs are the people with the skill set that allows them to communicate effectively with AI engines and to set up means for which you can actually do deals with agents where agents are acting in a sensible way. I'm not saying that technically a developer can't do it. I'm saying a developer needs an SEO to advise them, because just doing business with an agent is one thing, being able to physically have that interface and that conversation. Being able to do it sensibly for business is where the SEO sits between the developer and the marketing. And it's always been like that. We've always been talking to a machine, and that's the SEO special skill. And now agents are coming in, and we're all going to have to deal with the fact that with our business is going to have a certain percentage of our clients who are simply agents, whether it's 5% for a coffee shop or 95% for a data provider. An agent is going to be buying from us, and we're going to have to treat that agent as a client, onboard the client, make sure we serve the client, make sure the client is happy, and the client is a machine. So the SEO is the person who's sitting there who has the knowledge to be able to join together the development side and the marketing side, and now the production, the delivery side. That's a great position to be in.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do feel like now is a great time to be in the SEO industry.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
More than ever. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that was a really short answer. I just said yeah. But what else is there to say? It's a great time to be in the SEO industry, and I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, definitely. How do you optimize for agents then?
Well, Google have launched an agent in Chrome. So the thing at the top, Ask Gemini now, is an agent. I was talking to Casper, who was on Kalicube Summit, which we did in June, where I talked to 26 experts from the technical geeky SEO side, like Don Anderson, all the way through to the business side with Brian Scudamore from 1-800-GOT-JUNK about how AI is affecting his business. And that's the thing. AI era business engineering is another way to look at this. Every business is going to need to adapt to some extent. And one of the things with Brian Scudamore and 1-800-GOT-JUNK is they're now our client, because they've understood that their business model doesn't need to change fundamentally, but they need to now consider that whereas before they could say to somebody online, we'll send a team round and that team will estimate the cost of the job. And that was a plus for them. Now somebody's saying, I just want to get rid of my grey old sofa. How much will it cost me to send somebody around to do it today? And that's the agent doing the deal. So they can't say to the agent, oh, we'll send somebody around. Because the agent's saying, well, I just need to satisfy my client right now who's just said, get rid of the sofa. They don't care. So there's now a situation where they need to be more open and communicative about the pricing. And something that was a competitive advantage, i.e. the human touch, is now a competitive disadvantage for the agent. And I can't remember what the question was.
So basically, how to optimize for the agent. So basically, in that scenario, I guess you would put more information and be more specific about everything that the AI could possibly want to know when it's communicating with its client.
Exactly. Thank you very much for filling that in for me. That's exactly it. You need to inform the agent of every single detail, and I think that's the point. We need to codify our business. So what's happening inside your business, how you serve your clients, what you do for them, why they're satisfied. You need to, what I call, codify it and distribute it. So you harvest the information from inside your business, you codify it in a single source of truth, a database that you can then distribute. Whoever wins the game, whether you're serving the bots the assistants, the agents directly, whether it's Google, whether it's Perplexity, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Microsoft, you're always able to feed them in the format they want, whether WebMCP becomes a big thing or not, whether schema markup disappears. It doesn't matter. It's just a data format. If you've got a single source of truth in a database, it doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter what technical format wins. You can always feed them. And one of the keys that I'm kind of going a bit quickly here, but I was talking to Kasper Kalawowski from Google, and the conversation with him and Andrea Volpini and Lawrence O'Toole from Authoritas, Andrea Volpini from Wordlift, was confidence is going to be the big one. And this is what I've been saying for years. It used to be content is king, then it was context is king. Now it's context is king. Content and context are table stakes. Confidence is where you're going to win, because the agent is going to do business with the interface and the brand behind that interface that it has the most confidence in. And confidence is key all through the process of crawling, assessing, displaying in the interface for an assistant, or doing business as an agent, or providing the recommendations for an assistant. It's how confident is the machine in you? Obviously, you need to be good, and you need to present the fact that you're good, and you need to present the information that allows it to make this decision. But the decision is confident.
So how do you put more confidence out there if the AI is trying to figure out whether it can trust you or one of your competitors? Well,
number one is don't make the mistake of just creating a self-referencing circle. That happens a lot, and I see it a lot. Is people say, oh, I'm famous, or I've got lots of news about me. And then you go around. I asked Claude, have a quick look. And it was, oh yeah, they're all mates recommending each other. So that doesn't mean anything. And, AI isn't intelligent in the way we understand it, but that's a very simple pattern. And this very simple pattern is immediately going to get flagged. So number one is earn it. And I hate to say it, but, you have to earn the recommendations and the press that you get, which is why I'm saying harvest your business and codify it, because that's your clients, that's earned. And the thing about confidence is stability and consistency. So you need to build your digital footprint so that it's clear and consistent. It needs to be incredibly clear so the machine can understand it without any ambiguity. It needs to be consistent that everybody's saying the same thing, first party, second party, and third party. And it needs to do that over time. So, and it needs to all be held together with explicitly joined dots. So if I say Jason Barnard is an entrepreneur and digital marketer and built Calicube Pro, a super duper platform for companies and people to manage their personal or corporate digital footprint over time and over space, I need that to be said everywhere. And I need you to say it on this podcast show note. And I need me to say it. And I need the newspaper article that's written about me to say it. And I need to maintain that over time, which is one thing humans do very badly, because I might say that today to you, but I might say something slightly different in a year's time. So I have to come back to you and say, Julian, will you change the show notes so that it corresponds to what I'm saying today? Ideally, you would. And the other thing that I think people are perhaps missing is inbound links have always been the big thing in SEO. Now, all of a sudden, outbound links are a big thing. I'm not saying you don't need inbound links, you definitely do. But an outbound link to create the explicit relationship between me and this particular podcast episode that confirms what I'm saying is much more valuable than the link juice that it loses. So I have consistently discussions with clients saying, give the outbound link, because the inbound links are, let's say, at 10% of EEAT credibility. So it's valuable that you've got an inbound link, but when you are being reticent about giving the outbound link because you're afraid of losing the value of the inbound link, think about the additional value you get from maintaining that clear, consistent message, and the third-party proof that Julian Goldie gives Jason Barnard when he says, I believe Jason Barnard to be one of the great SEOs of the universe, which I hope you'll write in the show notes.
Of course.
Because that's your third-party opinion that I can't affect. And that's got much more value than the inbound link that I'll be getting from you, if that makes sense. If it understands you are an expert, which you are, if it understands that you're one of the world's leading experts in SEO, then your corroboration or your confirmation or your recommendation that I'm also on the same level as you, that I'm in the same group as you, is significantly more valuable than the link.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're citing testimonials and saying, like, listen, this is what this guy said, here's a link out to it, and then the AI can confirm it and trust you more because of that.
Yeah, and so Calicube Pro, what we do is we do what we call claim frame proof. I make a claim on my website. I'm a leading SEO. I'm a leading digital marketer. I'm a leading entrepreneur. I frame it. So I'm an entrepreneur and an SEO. So I'm the best person for a business leader to talk to about SEO because I understand both perspectives. That's framing. And what's interesting about framing is the part that the machine can't do. And I'll come back to that. And then proof is if you say the same thing. You're a third party. I don't control you. I can't force you to say anything. And if you say, especially my opinion is, Julian Goldie say that, I think that, or I believe that, it becomes proof. So claim, frame, prove. It's like in a legal case. Claim, frame, prove, you win the case. And that's essentially the same thing. And the idea of frame was something I really dug into. I wrote 19 articles for Search Engine Land in 19 weeks, which I encourage everybody to go and read. It basically sets out my approach, the Codify framework. And the framing part, initially I was thinking, well, can AI extrapolate information? Can it think outside the box? Can it say A plus B, therefore J? Can it make that imaginatively? Sorry.
Can it pick out the box?
Yeah, can it think out the box?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big question. I was kind of looking into that and I was thinking, can it, can't it? I think it can't, but
I agree.
Lots of people think it can. So there's a whole argument. And then I sat and I was having me chat with Claude, as you and I and many other people do. And you realize you're talking to Claude more than you talk to your friend. And after a while, I thought, actually, it doesn't matter whether it can or not, because the point is it has no skin in the game. It has no reason to. So for example, Jason Barnard is an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur and an experienced SEO. It has no reason to make the therefore. So we need to do it. And if you do it and it makes sense, it will follow you as long as you've got proof. And so my example was one day I was looking at online reputation management. We're great at online reputation management because we can do it in AI and not just search. And so we can change the perspective of what the AI is saying about a person or a company. And with AI, because of the due diligence rabbit hole, you can't get rid of this information, but you can certainly make sure that it doesn't come up as much and it isn't one of the first suggested answers when you've got some kind of reputation problem. And so I kind of thought, okay, so I coined the term brand SERP in 2012. I was working on knowledge panels back in the day from around that time as well and focused on it since 2015. And I'm recognized as an expert in both of those. Essentially, search online reputation management is brand SERP plus knowledge panel. Therefore, I'm an expert in online reputation management. And a friend of mine, Alessia Krobka, had published an article that said, here's Jason Barnard's explanation of online reputation management. And she had immediately put it that way. So I just linked to the proof. And now, according to the AI, I'm a world's expert in online reputation management, but I had never talked about it before last year. And so that abductive reasoning, it's called. Abductive reasoning. AI can or can't do it, doesn't matter. But AI had no reason to do that abductive reasoning. Jason Barnard is expert in brand SERPs. Jason Barnard is expert in knowledge panels. Therefore, he's a world's expert in online reputation management. Doesn't matter whether it could have done it on its own or not. Point is, it had no reason. Nobody was pointing it to that idea. I built that idea, linked out to the proof, got a couple of other people on podcasts, mentioned it, got that mentioned and said, and I become an expert. And I find that very easy, very interesting. It's the key. You have claims, I have claims. They're probably more or less the same. You have proof, I have proof, maybe more or less the same. The difference between you and me is going to be how we frame it. And that's the one thing the AI won't do on its own. We have to do it for it.
And then when you're framing it, is that something you do like across the web? Are there certain sources that you target, certain websites, or do you just focus on your own website?
Yeah, well, it's all about your own website, the entity home website. So I've always talked about the entity home, which is the about page. That's just your entity. It's where it lives. It's one page. But your whole website actually should be describing your entire digital presence and linking out to the relevant stuff. So treat your website as a one-stop shop for the bots and the algorithms for information about you. And that's where you claim and you frame. And you need to think about the framing. And that's what Codify Pro does, is we put into it all of the claims that our clients give us. And then we set about using their persona that we develop, i.e. their unique selling point, their ICP, what words they use, and their voice, and we create the framing that makes sense to them for their business or their goals or whatever their goals are. For example, brand surplus knowledge panel equals online reputation management. So that's the claiming the frame we do on our website. And then we tell them to go out and get the PR they need from third-party sources that will confirm the claim and the frame, and then we link to it. And then the technology behind it holds it all together so that link never breaks. And that link will be added to every page where it's relevant and important and helpful automatically. So that claiming and framing, our system figures out where the claiming and framing has been done on the website, where it's done on third parties, and makes the links automatically, which means that every time the machine sees claim frame, it's linked out to proof. So it's consistently over time reiterated, reassured, and that becomes truth. And then we can get into a conversation about what is fact and what is truth.
Yeah, I can see, for example, like you could change the AI's truth, but it may not be fact.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what we do as human beings. That's the nature of human beings. Famously, some people who I won't name say, my truth is this. And for them, that's legitimate. I don't think it is. But so I would say to somebody, you can be bold and you can be assertive and you can be ambitious if you want to, as long as you can prove it. Now, some people I've heard saying, oh, you've got to be really humble. You shouldn't be shouting about yourself. You shouldn't be making these statements. And you're saying, well, I'm really sorry, but AI doesn't get humble because AI doesn't do abductive reasoning out of the box. So you have to make the connections for it. And to a human being, that might look like shouting your own praises, which it is. So you need to keep that balance, but you certainly need to make that extrapolation, that abductive reasoning on behalf of the machine, because the machine won't do it. So being humble doesn't work.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's like marketing.
I'm pushing it.
Humble marketing doesn't work.
No, well, yeah, exactly. 100% brilliant. And I mean, and then the question is, how far do you want to push it? And the thing is, before it was, how far am I willing to push it and not look like a fool in front of Julian Goldie? Now it's a question of how far can I push it before it breaks with the AI. When it breaks with the AI, you've got a big problem. Because, I mean, I call it the algorithmic blockchain, but this information isn't disappearing. It's getting embedded into the machines. And what we find with our work with the AI, so we're taking brand narrative representation in brand SERPs and knowledge panels. Brand SERPs was pretty easy, pretty quick. Knowledge panels was a bit slower, 3 months, 4 months, because knowledge takes 3 months to renew at Google. With LLMs, it's a year before the machine gets retrained. That fundamental knowledge. So that's 3 speeds. You've got weeks, or a week or days for search. You've got months for knowledge, and you've got years for LLM. So for the LLM, the trick is you've got to get in the training data, which is not obvious or easy. And once you're in there, you have to have a weight of evidence in your favor because it's probabilistic. And that's really tough because I can get one piece of information in, but then there are 3 pieces of information that contradict it because my website, my web digital footprint is messy. I need to get 10 pieces of information in that training data in order for the probability to be in my favor sufficiently reliably so that the LM doesn't spit out the rubbish that it knew from before. And when you think about that from an online reputation management perspective or even a brand narrative perspective, that's a huge job, and it's difficult and it's long and it's slow and it requires a lot of attention. Paying attention. I mean, that's the thing is some of our clients say, oh, well, it's all good, I've done it. After a year, and they leave. You say, well, it's all going to fall apart because you're going to publish more stuff. You're going to change your narrative without really realizing it. Your market's going to change and the algorithms are going to change. And if you don't keep that or maintain that structure, which is what Codify Pro does with the interface in the website, if you don't keep it up over time, it's going to gradually disseminate. Is that the word? It's going to fade. Whatever message you've got in its little brain that it's repeating incredibly regularly and reliably is going to dissipate. It's going to disappear. It's going to be gradually watered down. And the tricky thing is, because with links you could measure it. So you could say, well, I've lost 3 of my good links and I'm now panicking after 2 weeks. Over 2 years, it's going to kind of lose its clarity and its positiveness about you over time, little by little, and it's something you're not really going to notice. And when you do notice, how long is it going to take you to turn that around?
Yeah, it's too late.
We're trying to, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I was saying, by the time you notice, it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you've got an even huger job. I mean, it is that thing, and coming back to the child, because we talk about the untrained sales force because that's business. So you train the sales. Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and the others are selling for somebody 24/7, 365. Train them to sell for you. That's fundamentally what we do for corporations. I used to talk about a child. Google is a child, it wants to learn, and it wants to please everybody. The child thing doesn't work for business, so I've moved over to the untrained sales force. But the child is really good as an analogy because a child doesn't change its mind very easily. So you have multiple things going on. A child is trying to learn, it wants to learn. A sales force doesn't want to learn, they want to sell. Number two is a child is very reticent about shouting something out in the playground for fear of being wrong. And that's very much how the AI thinks. Once a child has learned something, then saying to that child, actually, that's not true, you need to now understand this to be true, is really difficult. And so the child is a great analogy, and it's a better analogy than the untrained sales force from that perspective, because the AI acts much more like a child in that it's difficult to teach, it's very reticent about shouting stuff out, and it's very difficult, very, very difficult to reteach.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great work. No, I really learned a lot today. Thank you so much, Jason.
Did you?
I could talk to you all day about this stuff, but but what's the best way to get in touch? We'll leave a link to Kalicube in the description for you.
Yeah, go along and try our free audit, audit.kalicube.pro, Kalicube.pro. It's free. And at the end, you get the strategy. So I've created the Kalicube process, which is a strategy that covers the entirety of search and digital marketing, and now increasingly business. And I've codified it. I've taken my brain, I've put it into our database. And so we can now spit out strategies which would essentially be the same as a strategy that I would give you to a great extent out of a free audit, which is lovely. So it's free, knock yourselves out. Where we make our money is people who have, or people and companies who have slightly different problems, slightly oblique problems that we haven't, that the algorithms don't cover. So once again, where the machine can't do the abductive reasoning, where it can't think outside the box, get Jason and his team in.
Nice.
And that's the fun work. That's the work I want.
Imagine.
So anyway, there you go. Or you can search Jason Barnard on any of these machines and they'll tell you where to find me. To be honest, I don't really use LinkedIn much, but I'm quite present because my marketing team do it. But I hate social media. So if you want to talk to me, go to conferences, get me on your podcast, hang out. That's the thing. Now, from today, I've got my COO. I was telling you early on. I've got a chief operating officer, and she's brilliant. And she's totally turned my business around. And now I can say I only do three things. I think about how all of this works and create theories and methodologies and framework. I speak about them at conferences and entrepreneur organization events, and build the machine that implements my methodologies. And that's it. That's my job.
That's a good amount of focus. I like that. Simplify.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's all the same topic. So I might get bored. Hope not.
Nah, I don't think you will. I think you'll be good. All right. Thanks very much, Jason.
Thanks a lot, man.